It's Friday, March 12th, and this is your Barbados Today Evening News Update. So glad you could join us. Principal and Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies Cayfield campus, Professor the Most Honorable Udin Barito, fears there could be layoffs at the university if it continues to witness a reduction in its operational budget. The outgoing principal, in her final report to the council meeting on Friday, said that despite several improvements in critical areas, even in the face of growing adversity and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the already financially struggling university also had to contend with continuous reduction in its annual budget.
The Cayville campus is at the financial bare bones. We are challenged that we cannot really go any lower. In the past year, we faced many challenges with aging and faulty equipment and leaking buildings. Our submission to TAC last year represented 73% of our 2015-2016 budget, or a reduction of 27% compared to the 2015-2016 budget. In the past 6 years, we have generated considerable cost reductions through implementing many measures, and we did this, Chair, without any layoffs. But I regret to state that any further cuts in our operational budgets would mean that the campus would have to seriously reevaluate that option.
In other news, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George reports there are no severe adverse reaction to the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine in Barbados. Some European countries have suspended use of a specific batch of the vaccine following reports of incidents of blood clotting. Dr. George says the Ministry of Health is keenly monitoring the situation.
We have a team that is monitoring the side effects. It is led out of the Barbados Drug Service, and that team is going to meet tonight to review all the issues, and if they were, because issues will come up from time to time, and we in Barbados and with the ministry that we run, we will be as transparent with you. If there are issues, we will come to you. We will need to gather the evidence, because if you want to link an adverse side effect to a vaccination, there must be evidence gathering and there must be understanding of person's original risk. So it is not a decision that is taken lightly, but thankfully these vaccines have been safe.
Meanwhile, PAHO WHO representative to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean says the matter is being investigated, but the evidence shows the vaccine's benefits far outweighs the risk.
Vaccine benefits continue to outweigh its risk, and the vaccine can continue to be administered while investigation of case of thromboembolic events is going on. WHO have a global advisory committee on vaccine safety and systematically reviews any vaccine safety signals and concern related to COVID-19 vaccine. And in this regard, WHO is carefully assessing the current report with AstraZeneca vaccine. As soon as WHO has gained a full understanding of these events, the findings and any changes, if the current recommendation will be immediately communicated to the public.
Today, PAHO presented Health Minister Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic with equipment to strengthen the country's response to COVID-19. Bostic is pleased with the decline in cases, but stressed that Barbadians must remain alert. He said government will continue to step up its campaign in communities to curb the spread of the virus.
Most of the cases that we've seen come from the urban corridor of the country. 64% of all cases from the urban corridor. And the urban corridor stretches right up the west coast, by the way, so it's not only within the St. Michael area, and it also includes Christchurch and so on. And that really correlates with the fact that the numbers of persons residing in the urban corridor is 61% of the population. So I think that's an expectation. We're also seeing, though, outside of the urban corridor, cases popping up in some other areas, especially families, which we have spoken to before. We continue to work really hard on this one to contain spread. And using this kind of information has allowed us to be able to strategize and to make adjustments to the way that we've been fighting this battle.
At least 2 cases filed against the government's COVID-19 directives will be heard in court next week. Word of this from attorney at law Neil Marshall as he filed yet another action in the Supreme Court today, this time on behalf of Adrian Kelman, the owner of Kermit's Bar. Marshall is pleased the first 2 matters will get early hearings.
The first one that I filed for Benson's Mini Mart, and on behalf of Ricky Straker, that has been set down to be heard on Thursday. And the latest one I filed, which was on behalf of Mr. Caswell Franklin, ironically will be heard even earlier, and that is set down to be heard this Tuesday coming. So next week we have both of these matters being heard. How the court will deal with these matters that are all substantially the same, that is left entirely in the hands of the court.
It was a day of celebration in St. Lucie today. Marlene de Pisa of Cayfield celebrated her 100th birthday with family and friends and MP Peter Phillips.
Having come through what they would call the struggles of life and such, like, she is a great lesson for a lot of people today. She's one of the builders of Barbados whom I really look up to, because it is persons like her who have made such a contribution to this country and has brought this country where it is today. And that's why as she celebrate, and as she move on in life, I want to give her the credit. I'm grateful that I'm able to be here this morning to celebrate with her and the family, and I want to take the opportunity to wish her all the very best in as years go on.
Phillips then visited Rupert Springer, who celebrated his 105th birthday earlier this week. Springer, who was described by his daughter Colleen as widely read and a devout Christian, offered one of the secrets of his longevity, following the principles outlined in Psalm 23.
No man knows how far you will get, but don't forget the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd. You got to know. And they got some relatives in there that you can get this sense of the 10th commandment got some, and the Lord's praise. But remember the 23rd Psalm. So you walk through the valleys and the shadow of death. But I heard for now. I can see all I they living for.
And my dad has always been hardworking, looks out for people, generous to all, a giver in every sense of the word. He went all out to make sure that his 8 children were suitably educated to live in this world. He always told us to go to school and learn, not to get into any trouble. If we get into trouble and it was not the right kind of trouble, he would have forsaken us.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional happenings, Jamaica's Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says the delayed shipment of COVID-19 vaccines under the COVAX facility is out of his hands. The second shipment of over 14,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine was due to arrive on Thursday, but it is now scheduled to arrive next Monday.
We don't determine the dates. We have paid into a pool. That pool is managed, and we are told when the vaccines are available. We're given numbers. We quote and make those numbers available. The truth is we have had a revision of those numbers, but it has not been up to us. It really is up to the program we have bought into, and they have given information around production issues, production scheduling, And there are other issues, as you know, in terms of some of these manufacturers having to commit to other parts of the world based on government policies that have shifted and so on.
Further afield, the city of Minneapolis on Friday agreed to pay $27 million to settle a lawsuit by the family of George Floyd over his death in police custody, a case that stirred international protests over racial injustice and police brutality. Floyd, a 46-year-old black man, died as Derek Chauvin, a white Minneapolis police officer, kneeled on his neck for nearly 9 minutes.
The settlement is not just historic because of the $27 million paid out, but for the impact on social justice, policy reforms, and police reforms. Because the financial compensation most directly impact George Floyd and his family, the future of their family. But it is the policy reforms that affects all of us. It's going to be a long journey to justice. This is but one step on the journey to justice.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.